The Bundesliga has of course been dominated by Bayern Munich in recent history, and this season it looks like there may be a challenger in the form of Bayern Leverkusen, and that is already a hard challenge in itself for a team like them to overthrow Bayern, but we're going to go for something even harder. We'll be dropping into the second division and giving ourselves 5 years as manager of Hertha Berlin to overthrow Bayern at the top of the German football pyramid. Now, Hertha have actually won the top division back-to-back in 1930 and 1931, but that's over 100 years ago now, so we can't really rely on past success as an indicator of where we're going to go in the future. And our life isn't made easy by the fact that we've only got £3 million in the club's balance, with over £70 million worth of debt, and a projection of things getting significantly worse if we stay in the second tier. But we do have some good players in our team to build around, like winger Fabian Rees, who's got great ability and can definitely play at a top division level. We've also got Hertha Academy product Martin Dardé, who's 21 years of age, has under 21 caps and is going to be a vital player for our team. And his brother also plays for the club. His name is Benza Dardé, and he is a very promising attacking midfielder. To note as well, there's another brother at the club, and the manager that was here before I took over, I believe is their dad, so it's very much a family run affair here at Hertha Berlin. Now, the board wants us to have a top half finish in the second tier, which certainly isn't the worst expectation considering we're predicted to finish in third place with 7-2 odds of winning the title. We've got great facilities, a huge stadium and a massive fan base as well, and we're going to need all of that if we're going to try and push into the first division and topple Bayern. But first, we've got £3 million to try and change this squad around. Before we see the transfers that we did make though, it would be a massive help to me here on the channel if you could just take a second, it's free to do, to click that like button. It gives me a massive boost in the YouTube algorithm, so thank you to anyone who could do that. And if you haven't already, if you see the subscribe button and you haven't clicked it yet, I'd really appreciate it if you could hit that button. We have weekly rebuilds here on the channel and some new content coming soon as well. And if that isn't enough, we're so close guys, so close to 30,000 subscribers. So if you can help me get over the line to reach that target, I'm going to be absolutely over the moon. Comment down below what rebuild you want to see next. Every rebuild we do is based on your suggestions. And finally, if this save seems interesting or you just want to support me as a creator, there's a Patreon linked in the description. Over there, I put save files out for you guys for all of these rebuilds from season 1 through to 5, so you can take over at any point and give the rebuild a go yourself. With that being said, let's see the transfers. Now, when you saw the club's finances a second ago, that was actually after we'd done our transfer business, where we've sold more than we've spent to try and balance this team out a little bit and help our financial situation. And one sale was this man, Mark-Oliver Kempf, who's moved to Leverkusen, obviously in the top division, for 3.2 million. The first games of this season have gone ahead as we've been making the transfers, and he was playing, but he's got a pretty hefty wage over at Leverkusen there. He's a good player, but he wanted to go, and you could understand why when a top division club comes in for you, he's hardly going to want to stay. But we were able to reinvest that money on a striker, which is a position in the team that I felt we were lacking some real quality. Now, Hertha have made a lot of transfers already. I don't agree with a lot of them, but this is one that I've done myself, and I think it could work out to be a very good signing. This is Oscar Wilhelmsson, a 19-year-old Swedish striker. He comes in from Darmstadt for 1.8 million, potentially rising for 2.1, and so far it looks like a good bit of business because he has scored on his debut. And tactically, I'm going for quite an aggressive tactic, a 4-2-3-1 with a lot of attacking impetus, including 2 defensive midfielders on the Segundo Volante role who are going to look to get forward and crash into that box and score. Whether this tactic's going to work out, I don't know, but let's introduce you to the best 11, where we've got Gersbeck in goal, a 28-year-old German keeper, Peter Pekarik at right back, who's a 36-year-old who I imagine is not going to be around for too much longer. One of our best centre-backs is 32-year-old Tony Liesner. He's paired at the back with Martin Dardé, who you met earlier. Then we've got Karbarnik at left back, who looks like a very talented 22-year-old Polish international, and I think he could turn out to be a key player for us with his versatility across the pitch. Suat Serdar is out on loan at Hellas Verona, but he is in our best 11 midfield, combined with Andreas Bouchalakis, who's a 30-year-old Greek midfielder who's recently signed from Olympiakos. Then we've got Palko Dardé on right wing, with another Dardé in attacking midfield, the one that we mentioned earlier. And then our supposed best striker is the Bosnian international Smail Prevlejak, whose name I've definitely butchered there, but I'm hoping across the course of the season we'll see Wilhelmsen getting some more minutes, seeing as he's the man that we've signed to be the one to get us the goals. So we're ready to go for Season 1, and fingers crossed we can get an early promotion into the top division where we can really start to begin our charge to topple Bayern, but it's going to take a while, so let's see how we can do in Season 1. And we were hoping for promotion in Season 1, and we have got it, finishing in second place in that automatic promotion spot, 2 points away from Hamburg, but it wasn't the best year really. We drew a lot. St. Pauli were very close to us, only a few points behind, and the other contenders for promotion that you'd expect, Schalke, have fallen all the way into 11th spot, so thankfully we avoided them. The Pokal, which is the German Cup, we didn't do too great in, knocked out in the third round by FC Köln, but you know what, we're going to take a second place finish, even if it wasn't very pretty. We'll go straight into the top division now, which is hopefully really going to help kick us on during this rebuild. And we had some top performers to thank for our great season. Fabian Rees, who we expected, was absolutely brilliant for us. On top of that, Ben Sedade performed really well, such a young age, but came in with 17 goals and 7 assists in the attacking midfield position, and he's certainly one for the future here for us. Pekarik, Buchilakis, Ernst in goal all did very well, but the best goal scorer was our man Oscar Wilhelmsen, who didn't play great across the season, but did manage to bag us 13 goals in the league, which helped us massively towards that promotion charge, and now we're ready to go into the Bundesliga. Financially, being in the second division led to a massive hit in our finances, and it really wouldn't have been sustainable if we hadn't got promoted. We're now £22 million in the negative here, which is not great, and the debts and loans have only gone up. Projection-wise, with the promotion to the Bundesliga, things look like they could get better, but that's providing that we keep improving year upon year and we don't get relegated again. Because of the finances, we're only getting £2 million to spend in the top division and 34 grand of wage budget, which really isn't a lot to try and compete with the big boys. But we're going to work with it in whatever way we can. So we've got a few £1 million to spend, so let's see who we can bring in the Season 2 transfer window. And the transfers for this season were very much an exercise of getting rid of players that were hogging the wage bill and bringing in a few new players, whilst mainly using the dev centre, our young academy talents, to fill out the rest of the ranks. And one player that left was 33-year-old centre-back Tony Liesner, who played 19 times last year, didn't have long on his contract, so we sold him for a very measly sum of about 30k. I didn't mind too much though, because the aim was just to free up that wage bill, and the same applied for the Bosnian striker Prevlak here, who was described as our best forward in our best 11 when we last looked, but I wanted to move him on. We've let him go to Toulouse for 350k. I've also moved on the French wide player Myzian Molida here. He was someone that was with us last season and didn't do too badly, but we've moved him on to Troyes for 375,000, and that is money that we can reinvest in the team. Jeremy Dudziak has also moved on. A lot of these players were getting towards the end of their contracts and it made sense to let them go. The 28-year-old has moved to Kaiserslautern after one season at the club where he only started 2 games, so you know what, it's actually pretty good money for a player like that. And a player that I actually had a lot of faith in when we first started this save was Haris Tabakovic, who looked like he had the attributes to be a real threat in the in-game engine, but it never quite worked out. He only started 1 game last season and then he's moved on now for 1.2 million, which is good profit on what we originally paid for him, but you know what, FC20, they can take him, we take that money back and forget we ever really had him. Then we bring in the Benin international David Kiki on a free contract to provide us with some extra depth. He was recently playing out in the Romanian divisions, caught the eyes of our scouts, and as a free agent, it made sense to pick him up to give us that extra depth in those fullback areas. And then we spent £2 million on the young Belgian under-21 international Luca Oyen, who scored 10 goals in 22 for the Belgian under-21s. He's got great attributes, can play as a striker on the left wing or through the middle. It cost us 2 million. It's not got any additional fees or anything like that, and he did play for Genk, one of the bigger sides in Belgium in recent times, so hopefully he's a good enough player to walk into our lineups. And that was it in terms of signings, but as I mentioned earlier, we were also looking at a lot of young players to bring into the first team to give more opportunities to. For example, Tjark Ernst is going to be our keeper this season. He actually played quite a lot last year, and we're going to stick with him in the net. Pascal Clemens is a 19-year-old centre-back back, who I believe is an academy graduate. Yes, he is. Again, played quite a lot last year, and now we're looking this season to give him even more football to continue his development. Obviously, Oscar Wilhelmsen now is going to take a more prominent role with the strikers leaving. The same with Ben Sidade, who was so good last year that we're hoping he'll continue that. And we also see Bilal Hussein come into our best 11 midfield, who is a Swedish international, 24-year-old, recently signed from AIK, who I feel like is going to be a good player for us. So the team's age has definitely dipped a lot now, but I'm hoping that will prove good for us in the Bundesliga, where we're expected to avoid relegation, and that is backed up by the season preview, where we're predicted to finish in 15th place, 300 to 1 odds of winning the title. There's a lot of teams considered worse than us, so hopefully we can stay up, and that will help the club's finances, which have now got to a point with the Bundesliga money coming in, where there's £3 million in the overall balance. As you can see, still a lot of debt, but not as much, and projection-wise, things look like they might get a little bit worse before they get better, but we're going to continue in this upward trajectory, hopefully, if we can stay up, so let's see how we can do in Season 2. And it wasn't exactly convincing, but we have managed to survive in the Bundesliga, finishing in 14th place with Bochum being below us, and the 3 teams that got relegated, one was very surprising, Gladbach finishing in bottom place there. Now, we were 7 points clear of the relegation zone and not too far away from some of the teams above us, but we did exactly what we needed to do. We stayed up in our first year in the Bundesliga. Hertha are a team that in recent times haven't been so great if we look at their overall competition history. You can see before they did actually get relegated, they were struggling for a number of years, so it is good to see that we have survived, and hopefully we can build from there. The DFB Pokal we did lose in the second round to St. Pauli, which again isn't great, but we stayed up. That's all that mattered this season, and hopefully that can be a stepping stone of things to come. Once again, we have Ben Seyderde and Fabian Rees as 2 of our best performers, getting 20 goals between them, which would have been vital in our attempts to stay up. Martin Dardé at centre-back has also done very well, but he is now wanted by Dortmund and Werder Bremen and wants to move to a bigger club, so we'll see if we can hold on to him. The goals certainly did dry up this year, but Wilhelmsen was able to chip in with 10 goals in all comps, 10 in the Bundesliga in fact, and despite some poor performances, that did help us a lot, but we might need to look for some attacking reinforcements next summer. But again, things are going to be very tough because we've only been given £1 million to spend, minus £500 in the wage budget, and you know what, financially, that's one of the harshest things we've ever had to deal with in a rebuild, I think. There's a lot of times we've managed lesser clubs and had less money, but being a Bundesliga side with this much and being expected to continually grow the team, that is really not easy at all. It's been a very tough challenge so far, and it looks like it's only going to get harder. You can see why we haven't got much though. The overall balance, we're in negative 13 million, and there's £50 million worth of debt still, so I don't know how we're going to fix this. Maybe we're going to need some big sales this summer. We'll see what we can do in the Season 3 transfer window. Before we see who we signed and we sold though, I'd just like to let you guys know I do have a Discord linked in the description below if you want to check that out. It's all Football Manager based, there's over 700 members now. It's a great community of people ran by some brilliant moderators who do a fantastic job. Over there you can talk about anything from real life football, real life, or Football Manager, and a lot of people go on there to post their tactics, ask for advice, post their wonder kids that they found, and just generally share their save. A real nice place to be if you are a fan of the game. So just thought I would shout that out. But now let's get into the sales. And I mentioned we were looking to make some big sales this transfer window if we were going to have any chance of bringing players in, and we have done that with 2 big ones, one of which was Mikael Kabrovnik here, who has joined Eintracht Frankfurt, again in the Bundesliga for £10 million. Now he is a great player, very versatile, but he wanted to move to Frankfurt when the offer came in, and we decided to let him go. £10 million is a lot for us, and it looks like we got about the right kind of valuation for him, and we're going to be able to use that to reinvest in the squad. And speaking of players who wanted to leave, Martin Dardé wanted to do exactly that as soon as Dortmund came in for him. We got a good fee for the young German, 17 million, rising to 22.5. A very good talent, and I'm sure he'll be great for Dortmund going in as a squad player. We've got to accept that kind of money. The only problem was we only got 35% of any transfer sale that we made, so even with all of those sales, we only had a few £1 million to spend. And I think we did well, spending a total of just under 4 million. Our first transfer was a free deal, bringing in Nikola Katic, a 28-year-old Bosnian central defender who's played for Rangers. He's recently been at Zurich, and he comes in as a good option to replace Dardai. A bit of a weird one, but I actually think it makes sense. Ben Davies of Tottenham at the age of 32, the Welsh international with 95 caps, is an experienced player who's been playing regularly for Spurs in the Premier League and playing very well too. So to get him for free, I think is a little bit of a bargain. He can play centre-back or left-back, still to a good level, hasn't really declined too much yet. And even though the name isn't a superstar player, I still think he's a very good talent in our team. We've brought in a centre-back, a left-back, and now we also got a right-back, really reshuffling the defence, signing 27-year-old Ecuadorian international Angelo Preciado here. He comes in from Sparta Prague for only 63,000, which was a compensation fee because his contract was expiring, so I'm delighted to have signed him. Kanya Fujimoto is a Japanese 26-year-old joining from Portuguese side Gil Vicente on a free deal after his contract expired, gives us some depth in midfield, can play as a 10, can play on the right, and is a very handy player in our team. We also bought in Marco Grull, who is an Austrian international who can play striker or on that left-hand side to a good ability, coming in as a regular starter for 1.9k, which was basically compensation yet again for an end of contract signing, joining from Rapid Vienna, where he has been brilliant out in Austria. A very good talent to have for so cheap, gives us that extra bit of depth. But our biggest signing of the transfer window is Vicente Pizarro from Colo Colo. Valued at £30 million, a 22-year-old Chilean international, is a brilliant midfield option, great in so many areas, can create, can tackle, is going to work hard for the team, and we've signed him for 3.7 million, having torn it up in the Chilean divisions. I think we've got ourselves an absolute bargain here, and he's really going to help our team out. And with that money spent, our best 11 is looking very strong now, with a lot of great young players in the team. Our defence has pretty much been converted into a brand new defence, but Clemens is still holding on in that centre-back spot. We've got Pizarro and Hussein in the midfield, with Fujimoto, Dardai, Fabian Rees and Wilhelmsen leading the line. Now the hope will be this season that we can finish a little bit further up the table, maybe a bit more mid-table than just staying up in 14th place, but we'll see how we get on. We're still only predicted 15th, so it's not like the game thinks we've improved at all, and of course we did have those two major sales, so fingers crossed we can do well. Let's see how we do in Season 3. And we've had an amazing season, finishing well in two different competitions. Firstly, the Cup, the DFB Pokal, we were runners-up to Bayern Munich in the final, knocking out the likes of Frankfurt along the way and also Hoffenheim. A very convincing 5-0 result there, so unfortunate to miss out, but Bayern, of course, are a dominant team who are going to keep battering us in those kind of competitions, you'd think, and they did so in the league as well with 83 points, but you will see we finish in 6th in a Europa League spot with 52 points, way clear of Wolfsburg in 7th place, quite a distance away from Augsburg in 5th, but it was a very good season, exactly what we want to see, progress up the pitch, and that has led to our finances being in a much better position. £42 million in the balance now, £24 million to spend next summer, still with that very small percentage of transfer revenue, but we've managed to clear the debts, and we're projected to get better in terms of our finances as time goes on, which is great to see. We're on the up, and that's exactly what we're after here with Hertha Berlin. If we're going to try and topple Bayern, we need to keep improving, and we had some good players here that definitely helped us out this season. Firstly, Nikola Katic, who scored 12 goals in 39 appearances from centre-back. If anyone wants to explain how that's happened, please do. I have no idea. We have not got any kind of special set-piece routines on. This was just the staff recommendation set-piece routines that we sorted in the first season, so no idea how he's done so well from those. Fabian Rees got 8 goals, Dardai got 9, we've got 13 goals from Fujimoto, Wilhelmsen hit 15, scoring a lot more this season, and it's been a much better team performance. We've really elevated our levels, and that means now we're heading into Season 4 with a lot more money to play with. We're going to be playing European football as well, so we need to improve the squad's depth, and we're going to need some big players to help us along the way. So let's see who we can sign in our 4th transfer window. And whilst we were still operating at a net transfer positive, selling more players than we bought, we've actually improved the squad massively this season, I think. Firstly, we did lose Luca Oyen to Antwerp. I say lose, we actively sold him for 2 million, the exact fee that we paid for him, rising to 2.4. So we actually make a bit of profit. He was okay when he came in, just never really tore it up too much and then wasn't playing. And then he wasn't really in my plans for the coming season, so we've decided to move him on and get some cash in. Unfortunately, Ben Davies, after a good season for us, has moved on now to join Bournemouth on a free contract. No money for him, but worth noting that he has gone. But our big sale, a bit of an unfortunate one, but we had to take the money, was Fabian Rees here. The 28-year-old has moved to Al Ittihad in Saudi Arabia. He was great for us for a couple of seasons, really doing well in the Bundesliga. Now he's moved for 26 mil, rising to 32.5, and that pretty much covered all of our transfers for this summer. And there was a few to cover because we definitely improved the team with a lot of new signings. Firstly, Adrien Truffert, the French 24-year-old left-back, has joined from Rennes on a free contract after 3 good years for them in Ligue 1. We've improved our goalkeeper position as well by signing Luis Junior, the Brazilian 25-year-old coming in from Famalicão out in Portugal, where he has been brilliant, and 8 million I think is actually a pretty good fee for a keeper of this quality. A bit of a bargain signing, but we've improved our attacking position by signing Walter Gonzalez, a 31-year-old Paraguayan international who's been playing his football for Olympia out in his home country, where he scored a lot of goals, including pretty much a goal a game in 2025. So fingers crossed he can score some goals for us too. We've signed Heidenheim's Jan Nicholas Best here to bring in a German 27-year-old. £4.2 million was the fee for the man that's been very good, particularly in the second division. Our scouts raved about him. He's got great set-piece ability, is going to really help replace Rees on the left, I think, and I reckon for that price he could be an absolute bargain. Speaking of bargains, the right-hand side of the pitch has been improved too, with Olimpiu Muretan, the Romanian 27-year-old, signing on a free. He's been playing in Turkey recently and doing very well, so I think he'll be a fine addition to our side. As will Maximilian Vitek, who gives us some depth at left-back, with Ben Davies leaving for only £1 million coming in from Bochum. Dortmund received £1 million for Mateo Murai, who comes in as our backup right-back. He was on loan at Cadiz last season in La Liga. Won't set the world alight, but gives us some extra depth considering the amount of competitions we'll be in this year. And then Leopold Querfeld has also joined us, an Austrian international centre-back at the age of 22, a nice ball-playing defender with great physical attributes who's been doing very well for Rapid Vienna out in Austria. £8 million was the fee, and I think he could go on to be a top player, and that's proved by the fact that he's valued at 40 million quid now. And if that wasn't enough, he isn't joining us yet, but Gift Orban is going to come in as our new frontline striker. The 24-year-old Nigerian looks phenomenal here. He's been playing well for Ghent so far, and he's now coming in at the end of his contract to join us in the January transfer window. So half a season of Orban. Hopefully his presence will really help the team and he'll be a gift to our starting 11. Look, those puns took me a whole minute to come up with, so hopefully you enjoyed them, but let's see our best 11. And obviously Orban isn't quite here yet, but our best 11 at the minute is now Luis Junior in goal, Preciado, Querfeld, Katic, and Truffert makes a very strong defence. Hussein and Pizarro take up the midfield with Marutan, Fujimoto, and Best at left wing, with Gonzalez going through the middle, who's supposedly now better than Wilhelmsen. Financially, still a very good balance with £50 million there, nothing in the debts and loans, and we're projected to get better as time goes on. So fingers crossed we keep this upward trajectory here. But in our penultimate season, season 4, hopefully we can go out there, get some wins, maybe get a Champions League spot, and give a good account for ourselves in the Europa. Let's see what we can do in our 4th season. Now, I mentioned I wanted us to give a good account for ourselves in the Europa League, but after beating Nice and Milan, we found ourselves in a final against Tottenham, where Muretan scored this goal past Vicario to give us a Europa League win. And if that already wasn't a good enough season, we actually knocked out Bayern Munich in the Pokal to make it into the final against Wolfsburg. And in the 33rd minute, we went forward on the right wing with Vicario, who played it into Orban, who missed his shot, but Fujimoto was there to make it 1-0. And then in the 88th minute, to seal the deal, Truffert went down the left-hand side, tucked into Grul, who found Pizarro on the edge of the area to blast it past Grabara in goal to make it 2-0, and that meant we'd won the Pokal and the Europa League in one season. And if that's all we do in this rebuild, I will be delighted with that. To win a European trophy is madness, really, and we finished in 3rd place in the league. Now, granted, it was 60 points, very good. We were still 30 points away from the eventual winners Bayern Munich, so if I'm being honest, there is no hope that we topple them in our 5th season. I really don't think it's going to happen, but it was a phenomenal season all around, winning the Pokal, winning the Europa League, getting a European trophy to the capital of Germany, and we had some great performers like Gruhl, who came in with 16 goals kind of out of nowhere, 9 assists as well. He was good in his first year, but nowhere near as good as he was this season for us. Pizarro also doing great with 5 goals, Best getting 15 goals, and Gonzalez coming in and scoring 22, a real bargain signing for only £700,000 from Olympia. Most of those goals coming in the European competitions and the Pokal. Dade got 11 goals again, so good to see the academy products helping out, and overall a very, very good year. There's £95 million in the balance now, no debts and loans, and we've got £43 million to spend. So I did say we weren't able to topple Bayern, but with that £43 million, we might actually be able to bring in some players to at least give us a chance. And the first transfer outgoing was Pauko Dade, another one of the Dade brothers leaving us. He wanted to go because he wasn't getting enough game time, and he was kind of right. So for 2.7 million, he has joined Kaiserslautern out in the German top division. But after 1 year of winning the Pokal and the Europa League, Luis Jr. decided time was up in goal for us, and he has moved to Al Nassr for 27 million. He cost us 8 mil. 1 season later, we turn it into 27 mil. I think that's good business yet again. And for the first time in this rebuild, we spent more money than we've made in sales, with Nicolas Fernandez Mercado coming in as a left-back option on a free contract from Elche, where he's been brilliant in the Spanish leagues. Wendell has also joined us on a free, a Brazilian 29-year-old midfielder in the prime of his career to offer us a hand, coming in from Zenit. And over there, he's been phenomenal. Those average match ratings are nothing to turn your nose up at. A brilliant player. Our new goalkeeper is Nico Mantel, a 27-year-old German under-21 international from back in the day. He comes in from Salzburg, where he's been very good, obviously for a very dominant team, but we needed a new goalkeeper with Junior leaving, so in comes Mantel to be the number 1 between the sticks. Aigo Ugbu is a Nigerian international. He's joined from Slavia Prague. We had to pay a compensation fee at the end of his contract of 66,000, but a 7.93 average match rating last year is crazy, really, and he is a top draw player to have. And then our biggest signing yet, we have brought in Joshua Wagnerman to be a right-back option who can also play on the left. He's a German international as well, so hopefully the board will like that, because they did want us to buy German players. Coming in from Stuttgart for 23 mil, no additional fees or anything like that, but a very good defensive option who offers us great ability in a lot of areas, and we're delighted to have him on board. And our final best 11 for this Hertha Berlin rebuild is going to be Mantel in goal, with Querfeld, Ogbu, Truffert and Wagnerman in a very strong defence, Wendell and Pizarro in a slightly new midfield shape, as you can see, kind of changed how it looks, but still a very similar style. Then we've got Muratan, Fujimoto, Best and Gift Orban. I would actually say, considering what we took over in the second division, we have made a phenomenal team here, and hopefully in Season 5 we can get off to a good start. And in fact, we have won a competition. I have no idea what this was, but we won the European South America Club Challenge. Maybe that's the winner of the Europa League against the winner of the South American Europa League equivalent. Is it called the Sudamericana or something like that? Either way, we've played Santos, we beat them 4-0, won a trophy, and the board were delighted with it apparently. We've got the Super Cup and the UEFA Super Cup this year as well, so it's going to be a big season. Let's see what we can do in our 5th and final year. And it's been a maybe season, and what I mean by that is we were so close in so many competitions, and if any of you continue this on Patreon, do let me know how you get on, because I'd really love to see how well you guys do. Firstly, the Super Cup, losing out by 1 goal to Bayern Munich early on in the season. Not the worst thing in the world, but I would have liked to have won that competition. The UEFA Super Cup, we went up against Real Madrid, lost 3-1, to be expected, but at least we gave a good account for ourselves. And then we get to the League and the Champions League, where the league competition, we finished in 2nd place, pretty far away from Dortmund, who had 9 points more than us on 83. But I must say, we did say we toppled Bayern, and we kind of did it. We didn't win the Bundesliga, but Bayern finished 3 points below us on 71 points. A pretty poor season for them overall, but we did do very well in the Champions League. And of course, 2nd place is not bad at all in the Bundesliga. Dortmund just had a very good season, not really losing much. But in the league phase, we managed to finish in 6th position, winning 6 matches, drawing 1 against Napoli and losing against Barcelona. That put us into the round of 16, where we faced off against Lyon and beat them 5-2 2 on aggregate, and then we came up against Real, who across 2 legs beat us 5-2. And we had a lot of players having great seasons for us, like Ben Sedade here, who started off as a youngster with a lot of promise, and now he's going to go down as a club legend, I'm sure. 22 years of age here, and brilliant every single season. We've also got Wagnerman doing very well in his first year, Orban bagging 23 goals in 38 appearances, and overall, we have done very well with Hertha Berlin here. Financially, we've got £150 million in the balance, no debts and loans, and things are only predicted to get better, and we've pretty much maxed all the facilities at the club other than the youth facilities. Every year, we've been trying to improve what we can, and it's led to a very big positive growth here at Hertha, but that's the rebuild done. Let me know who you want to see next. I've really enjoyed this one. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.